Welcome to MaxLife Man, the YouTube channel built for men who refuse to settle for decline. Here, under the guidance of our lead expert doctor, Sterling Thorne, and the research insights of world-class neuroscientists like Dr. Andrew Huberman from Stanford, we go far beyond fitness cliches. Because let's be honest, health and endurance aren't just about lifting heavier or starving longer. Modern neuroscience has revealed something far more powerful. The brain itself is the hidden lever of fat loss, energy, and performance. That's why the Huberman Lab podcast has exploded worldwide, because men everywhere are hungry for science-based tools, not gimmicks. And that's exactly what we deliver here. Grounded, practical methods drawn from neuroscience, endocrinology, and exercise physiology, brought to you in podcast form that's as engaging as it is transformative. But before we dive in, do me and yourself a favor, hit that like button. Think of it as your first rep today. Small action, immediate momentum, and who knows, that single click might just be the spark that rewires your health journey. Why traditional fat loss advice fails. For years, the marching orders have been the same. Eat less, move more, sweat harder. Simple slogans shouted from diet books and plastered on gym walls. And yet, how many men over 40 have followed that script, only to find their belts tighter, their energy lower, and their frustration higher? Imagine this, a 55-year-old man jogging every morning, sweat dripping, lungs burning. He skips breakfast, chews through a bland salad for lunch, and prays the scale will reward his discipline. But the mirror, it whispers the same cruel truth. The belly hasn't budged. In fact, it seems bolder. Why? Because the calories in, calories out model was never the full story. Your body isn't a math problem, it's a survival system. And survival systems don't like being starved or overworked. A landmark study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, 2021, found that strict calorie restriction almost always backfires. Resting metabolism slows to a crawl. Hunger hormones like ghrelin rise. Satiety hormones like leptin fall. The brain reads dieting not as fitness, but as famine. And then comes stress. Harvard Health reports that chronic cortisol elevation, from endless cardio, lack of sleep, or constant pressure, locks fat onto the waistline while dragging down testosterone. That double hit makes fat loss an uphill climb, especially for older men. So when a trainer yells, "Push harder, no excuses," what he's really saying is, ignore your biology. And biology always wins. Here's the truth, fat loss isn't about punishment, it's about partnership with your nervous system, with your hormones, with your circadian rhythm. Ignore them and you're rowing upstream in a leaking boat. Align with them and the current carries you forward. The brain as the hidden engine of fat loss. Most men think fat loss starts in the kitchen or the gym. But the truth, the real battlefield is up here, inside the brain. Deep in your skull lies a tiny structure called the hypothalamus. No bigger than a grape, yet it's the control tower deciding, burn fat or store it, feel full or stay hungry. A 2020 paper in Nature Neuroscience confirmed that before you even choose what to eat, the hypothalamus has already pulled the levers. That's why old-school dieting feels like a war you can't win. You're not fighting the food, you're fighting survival circuits. Skip too many meals and the brain sounds the famine alarm. Slow metabolism, crank up cravings, hoard fat. Push too hard with cardio and stress signals flood the nervous system. The result? Cortisol climbs, testosterone dips, and fat clings tighter. Think about this. Why do cravings always seem to strike hardest the very moment you decide to eat clean? That isn't weakness, it's wiring. Stanford researchers have shown that circadian rhythm and reward pathways in the brain spike food desire late at night, stacking the odds against willpower. So let me throw the question to you. Backhand index pointing right, have you ever noticed that the second you go on a diet, your brain seems to rebel, craving more than ever? Drop a yes or no in the comments. Because once you recognize the brain as the hidden engine, you stop blaming yourself. You realize fat loss isn't about force, it's about signals. Teach the brain safety, rhythm, and balance, and the body finally unlocks the fat it's been guarding. mini Q and a segment. I've been going through your comments, and honestly, some of your questions cut deeper than any textbook. Let's pull up a few. Backhand index pointing right question from John, 51. Doc, I do cardio 5 days a week, 45 minutes each session, but my lower belly fat won't budge. Am I just not working hard enough? John, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. Cardio has benefits, yes, but a study in the Journal of Physiology shows that long-duration cardio can elevate cortisol, which holds belly fat in place and even eats away at muscle. The missing piece is resistance training. It teaches your nervous system to preserve muscle and burn fat around the clock, even while you sleep. Backhand index pointing right question from Mark, 55. I tried fasting 18 hours a day. At first, the weight dropped, but after a few weeks I felt drained and irritable. Is fasting just not right for my age? Mark, fasting isn't wrong, but the way it's applied can backfire. JAMA Internal Medicine 2020 found that prolonged fasting often leads to muscle loss and hormonal disruption. Your brain reads it as famine, not fitness. Instead of extreme fasting, try time-restricted eating of 12-14 hours and front-load protein earlier in the day. That way, your body feels safe and fueled, not starved. Backhand index pointing right, and here's a light one from Alex. Doc, I heard eating after 8 p.m. automatically turns food into fat. Is that true? Alex, if that were true, half of Spain and Italy would be obese by now, face with hand over mouth. The reality, Obesity Reviews 2020 shows late eating can disrupt glucose control, but it's not the clock, it's your circadian rhythm. A balanced dinner at 7:30 or even 8:00 p.m. won't ruin you. But late-night junk food paired with stress and poor sleep, that's the real problem. Metabolism isn't broken, it's misfired. So many men come to me and say, Doc, my metabolism is broken. No matter what I do, nothing changes. But here's the truth, metabolism doesn't break. It adapts. Think of your body like a cautious accountant. Cut calories too aggressively, and that accountant tightens the budget. Resting metabolic rate slows down. Hunger hormones like ghrelin rise. Satiety hormones like leptin fall. A 2016 follow-up study on the Biggest Loser contestants, published in the Obesity Journal, found that even 6 years later, their resting metabolism was still suppressed. Their bodies had learned to defend fat stores with ruthless efficiency. And with age, the problem compounds. By the time men hit their 50s, most are losing lean muscle mass every year, a process called sarcopenia. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. It burns calories even at rest. Research in the journals of gerontology, medical sciences shows men can lose up to 1% of muscle mass annually after midlife without strength training. Less muscle means fewer calorie-burning engines, and fat becomes easier to store. Add in stress, and the cycle worsens. Chronic elevations in cortisol, the stress hormone, signal the body to conserve fat, especially around the abdomen. At the same time, high cortisol disrupts testosterone, which further erodes muscle and slows fat burning. So no, your metabolism isn't broken. It's misfired. It's been trained, through years of yo-yo dieting, lost muscle, and stress to prioritize storage over burning. The way forward isn't punishment. It's retraining. Build muscle through resistance training. Align your circadian rhythm with light and sleep. Send your nervous system signals of safety and abundance, not scarcity. When you do, metabolism stops being a locked door. It becomes a living system again, flexible, responsive, and ready to burn. The Huberman connection. If you've been anywhere near the world of neuroscience and fitness in the past few years, you've probably heard of Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford. His Huberman Lab podcast has become a global phenomenon because it bridges the gap between cutting-edge neuroscience and everyday life. And when it comes to fat loss and endurance, his insights are pure gold. For example, Huberman emphasizes light exposure as a non-negotiable daily habit. Morning sunlight, even just 10 minutes, doesn't just wake you up. It recalibrates your circadian rhythm, improves mood, and primes your metabolism. Skip it, and your brain keeps firing hunger signals at all the wrong times. He also highlights timing your meals with your body clock. Research published in Cell Metabolism 2019 confirms that eating earlier in the day improves glucose control and fat oxidation. Translation: it's not just what you eat, but when you eat that teaches your nervous system to burn rather than store. And look, I know what you're thinking. Doc, this sounds great, but I'll probably forget half of it by tomorrow. That's why you should smash that subscribe button right now. Think of it as your own circadian reset. Don't subscribe and you'll be stumbling around in the dark at 11 p.m. with a bag of chips. Do subscribe and you'll have the light of science guiding your way. Because here's the big idea Huberman makes clear. Fat loss isn't punishment, it's pattern recognition. When you send your brain the right patterns, light, timing, stress control, the body finally plays along, the hormone factor. If the brain is the command center, then hormones are the messengers that carry its orders throughout the body. And when those messengers go off script, fat loss feels less like progress and more like sabotage. Take insulin. Most people see it as the sugar hormone, but it's really the master switch for energy storage. When insulin levels stay elevated, whether from constant snacking, refined carbs, or disrupted sleep, the body locks into storage mode. A 2018 study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that chronically high insulin predicted greater visceral fat accumulation, even when total calories were the same. Then there's testosterone, not just a male hormone, but a metabolic engine. Testosterone supports lean muscle, and muscle is metabolically active tissue. Harvard Health notes that low testosterone leads to reduced muscle mass, slower metabolism, and more abdominal fat. Worse, belly fat itself produces aromatase, an enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen, deepening the cycle. Consider also the duet of leptin and ghrelin, the hunger and fullness hormones. When leptin signaling fails, the brain never hears the "I'm full" signal. Meanwhile, ghrelin rises, making cravings louder. Endocrine Reviews reports that during restrictive dieting, this hormone imbalance is one of the biggest reasons why weight rebounds, no matter how disciplined the individual. And finally, cortisol, the stress hormone. Chronic cortisol spikes not only store fat around the waist, but also suppress testosterone and disrupt sleep, both of which make fat loss even harder. Harvard researchers call this the triple hit of stress: more hunger, less muscle, and stubborn fat. Here's the takeaway. When men feel like their bodies are fighting them, it's not imagination. Hormones really are part of the resistance, but they're not destiny. With resistance training, proper sleep, smart nutrition, and stress regulation, those same messengers can be retrained. And when hormones line up with the brain's signals, fat loss finally stops being an uphill battle. Myth-busting segment. Every week I get messages from guys who are honestly trying their best, but trapped by myths that refuse to die. Let's open the mailbag. Envelope with arrow letter from James, 61. Doc, my trainer says the more I sweat, the more fat I burn. I've been leaving the gym drenched, but the belly isn't moving. What gives? James, here's the truth. Sweat is not fat leaving your body. It's just water, your cooling system. The American Council on Exercise has been crystal clear about this. You can sit in a sauna, lose 2 pounds of water weight, and still walk out with the same amount of fat. Burning fat comes from your nervous system unlocking energy, not from soaking your t-shirt. Envelope with arrow letter from David, 55. I'm doing 200 sit-ups every night to flatten my stomach. My abs are stronger, but the fat's still there. Am I missing something? David, you're not missing effort, you're missing biology. This is the myth of spot reduction. Harvard Health emphasizes that you can't pick where to burn fat. Sit-ups will strengthen your core muscles, sure, but the fat on top responds to systemic factors: hormones, nervous system, overall energy balance. To shrink the belly, you need to retrain the whole system, not just hammer the abs. Envelope with arrow and one from Robert, 58. My neighbor swears eating after 8 p.m. automatically turns food into fat. Should I stop eating dinner completely? Robert, this one deserves a slow clap for being so persistent and so wrong. A 2020 obesity review's analysis showed late eating can impair glucose control, but it's not a magic fat switch. The real culprit is circadian disruption. A balanced dinner at 7:45 p.m. won't ruin you. Midnight pizza after a stressful day and poor sleep. That's where the damage happens. Practical neuro-hacks for burning fat. We've cleared the myths, now let's get practical. If the brain is the hidden engine of fat loss, then the key is learning to tune it. You don't need a lab coat, you don't need hours in the gym. Just a few simple neuro-hacks that shift your nervous system from storage to burn mode. Neuro-hack hash 1. Morning light before your phone. Huberman's lab at Stanford has shown that just 10 minutes of direct sunlight in the morning resets your circadian rhythm. The result? Better energy during the day, fewer hunger signals at night. Skip it, and your brain keeps firing cravings at the wrong hours. Neurohack hash 2. The 90-second walk after meals. A 2022 review in Sports Medicine found that even light movement after eating improved blood glucose control and increased fat oxidation. 90 seconds. That's it. Neurohack Sometimes
hash 3.
a short stroll
breathing
beats
to
another
flip the
coffee.
switch.
Stress locks fat in. Harvard Health confirms that slow, deliberate breathing, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Translation: cortisol drops, cravings quiet, fat burning opens up. Neurohack hash 4. Protein front loading. The Journal of Nutrition, 2018, showed that men who ate at least 25 grams of protein at breakfast had lower ghrelin, the hunger hormone, through the morning. That means fewer cravings and more stable energy all day long. Now let me flip it to you. Be honest. Backhand index pointing right. Have you already tried at least one of these? If yes, drop a 1 in the comments. If no, drop a 0. I read those numbers, and they tell me where you are on this journey. And here's the thing, even starting with just one of these habits can create a cascade of change. Because fat loss isn't about punishment, it's about teaching the brain simple, safe signals. Signals that whisper, you're fed, you're safe, you can burn now, training the nervous system. When most men think of fat loss, they think of diet and exercise. But behind every movement, every calorie burned, there's something deeper at work, the nervous system. Your muscles don't act on their own. They fire because the brain sends electrical signals through neural pathways, telling them to contract, recruit fibers, and generate force. And here's the key. Those pathways can be trained. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Physiology found that resistance training improved neural efficiency before any visible muscle growth. In plain English, the brain learned how to recruit more muscle fibers more effectively. That means more energy burned during training and a higher metabolic rate even at rest. Think of 2 men doing the same workout. One leaves exhausted, drained, frustrated. The other feels strong and notices progress over time. What's the difference? The second man has a nervous system that's been trained to fire cleanly and efficiently. His wiring is sharper. His muscles respond faster. And it doesn't stop with strength. The nervous system regulates recovery, too. Training is stress, recovery is adaptation. If you overload without rest, cortisol rises, fat burning shuts down, and fatigue sets in. But when training and recovery are balanced, the nervous system adapts, lowering baseline stress and unlocking greater endurance and fat loss. Even endurance training works this way. Long, steady aerobic sessions teach the autonomic nervous system to shift into parasympathetic dominance. Calmer sleep, steadier hormones, lower cortisol. The Journal of Physiology highlights that this autonomic balance is a cornerstone of long-term fat loss and health. So the takeaway is this. Metabolism isn't just diet or exercise volume. It's neuroplasticity. Just as the brain can learn a new language, it can learn a new way to manage energy. Train the nervous system and the body learns to burn instead of hoard, from struggle to rebuild. Every now and then I get a message that reminds me why this work matters. A few weeks back, I received an email from Michael, a 57-year-old grandfather from Texas. He told me I could share his story here because, as he put it, if one man hears this and realizes he's not done yet, then it's worth it. Here's what Michael wrote. Doc, I've spent the last decade trying to outrun my belly. I jogged at dawn, I sweated through endless cardio, I skipped meals until I was dizzy. For a while, the scale budged, but then it stopped. And worse, the more I pushed, the more my energy disappeared. By 56, I was heavier, weaker, and more discouraged than ever. I started to think, maybe this is just how men my age are supposed to be. You can almost feel that despair, can't you? But Michael's story didn't end there. Then I stumbled across one of your videos talking about the nervous system, circadian rhythms, and Huberman's work. For the first time, I realized fat loss wasn't just about willpower. It was about retraining my brain. I started small, 10 minutes of morning light before I touched my phone. Within a week, my sleep felt deeper. Then I added the 90-second walks after meals. My blood sugar numbers, which had terrified me for years, actually started to come down. Michael went further. He practiced slow breathing before bed, right when late-night cravings usually attacked. His words made me smile. For the first time in years, I could walk past the pantry without it calling my name. 6 months later, Michael is 24 pounds lighter. But more important than the number on the scale was this line in his email. It's not just my body that feels lighter, it's my mind. I don't feel like I'm at war with myself anymore. That's the essence of this whole journey. Fat loss isn't about punishment. It's about partnership with your brain, your body, your biology. When those align, change stops being temporary. It becomes who you are. Final word and call to action. Gentlemen, let's pause here. Over the past minutes, we've uncovered truths most trainers never tell you, that your metabolism isn't broken, your brain is the hidden engine, and your hormones are not your enemy. They are waiting to be retrained. We've seen the myths fall apart. We've watched Michael rebuild his life, not by punishing his body, but by teaching his brain safety, rhythm, and strength. And now it's your turn. Here's what I want you to do. Backhand index pointing right, hit that like button, not for me, but as a signal to yourself. A first rep. A promise that today you begin again. Backhand index pointing right, drop a comment below. Are you a 1 already practicing some of these neuro-hacks or a 0 just starting fresh? Don't be shy. I read them and your story matters. Backhand index pointing right and share this with a brother, a friend, a co-worker, someone who needs to know his fight isn't over. Finally, subscribe, not because it burns calories, if only, but because it saves you from burning time on empty gimmicks. Here you'll find science, truth, and the tools to take back control. And let me leave you with this blessing. May you have the strength to train hard, the wisdom to rest well, and the health to enjoy every year ahead. May your mind be steady, your body resilient, and your journey full of small wins that lead to a greater life. You are not broken, you are not too old, you are not finished. The engine is still inside you. Now, it's time to make it fire again.